welcome back to Bit by Bit, here for our bi-weekly podcast. I'm Janet, I'm here with Jess.
Hey guys.
And today we're going to be talking about the 3DS and handhelds. So this was kind of spurred on because it was recently announced that the new 3DS is going to be ending production in Japan. The new 3DS is one of the most recent iterations of the 3DS, but it never came to the United States, so we got the new 3DS XL, but not just the plain old new 3DS.
Classic 3DS.
Which was the classic new 3DS.
It's
so confusing. Right. But the way I remembered it, because we were talking before the podcast, it was the one that had like the cute faceplates you could put on, and like the 3DS XL didn't have cute faceplates you could put on, and I was sad about that, and that's how I remember the difference. So that one is being now discontinued, so that kind of brought up the conversation of, we're going to be looking at what is the future of handhelds? Do we think they're really going to have any legs now, in this post-Switch world, / what will Nintendo do, / will anyone else step up? Then we're going to talk a little bit about reflecting on our favorite handhelds, and then we're going to end thinking about if this is the end of handhelds, what does that kind of mean for gaming, and what does it mean for us as gamers? Like, how will we kind of adjust to that, or not adjust and just do really poorly? So, I guess starting off with the whole idea of handhelds maybe not existing again, which is really crazy. I actually watched, plug for our old video, I watched our conversation about the future of handhelds or lack thereof that we had like months and months, or like a year ago, basically.
Long time ago.
Yeah, it was super long ago. And I feel like a lot of those questions are still definitely up in the air. It's a weird time to be in handheld gaming. I think the 3DS is... I'm going to say so recently what is the 2DS called? The new one that came out?
The new
Nintendo 2DS
XL.
Yes. I think that's the last of the 3DS family. Like, would you agree that that's going to be the last one, or are they going to try to get one more in there?
I hope so. I hope it's the last one. They got to stop with this, like, naming system. It's not good. Okay, here's my thing. If you come out with another handheld, which I, would totally support you if you did, Nintendo, you gotta pick a different name. The whole new naming route, just drop it. Just forget about it. It's done.
Yeah. But do you think there's gonna be another member of the 3DS family, or would there just be like, no? So the last thing we will hear of the 3DS family is that recent 2DS that came out?
I think so.
I think so too.
But I don't know that means it's the end of handheld gaming.
Yeah.
I think it's possible there'll be another family after,
Yeah, like a new gen, basically.
Quite possibly. Although, I don't know, because I feel like whether or not handheld gaming is actually over is like not totally clear question. I think it's kind of a complex question, because I think it kind of depends on whether or not you consider the Switch a handheld or a home console. And I was thinking about it, and I think the Switch is a handheld. Now, I know we've had this argument before where I was like, it's not a handheld, but I was thinking about it. I think it's more of a handheld.
So really, you've had this argument before with yourself.
Right. Well, no, we've had it on our channel.
Yeah, but I consider it a handheld. I consider it
No,
both.
What I mean is, I know that I've said it's not a handheld before, but what I'm saying is, I don't think it's really like both exactly. I think when we're thinking about the Switch, I think it might make more sense for us to think of it as a handheld that you can hook up at home versus a home console you can take on the go.
I've heard of that line of thinking before.
I think that makes more sense. It's actually way more in line with Nintendo's tradition than
Can you explain what you mean by that, though? Because I know, I know what you mean by that, and I've heard other people say that, and I'm like, I get what you're talking about. Right. What exactly do you mean?
So a lot of people, when they talk about the Switch, they're like, it's great. It's a home console, and when I want to take it on the go, I can take my console games with me on the road. But in all actuality, I feel like the Switch might be more like a handheld console in what it provides, even though it's like a higher caliber than a lot of handheld consoles we've had, that you can also play at home in a more stationary manner that gives you extra capabilities that you don't happen to have on the go. But we've seen stuff like this from Nintendo before, like with the GameBoy adapter on the bottom of the GameCube.
Yeah.
Nintendo's always been interested in letting you play your handheld games at home, but not in a very high-tech way.
Right.
And I think that might be the case. I think that's an interesting way of looking at it, and it's not something I've really thought about until I was, thinking for this video about, are handhelds dead? And I think if you look at it that way, there's no way handhelds are dying anytime soon, because the Switch is the coolest new handheld that's ever existed, and it's more like the evolution of the handheld console than the death of the handheld console. But I think we tend to look at it as the death of the handheld console because it's different.
Yeah, I think of it as maybe it's the rebirth of the handheld
Rebirth
console,
is a good
possibly.
way to, yeah.
Even though I get what you mean by, and other people have said this as well, like just in the gaming community, that like even though the Switch is like it's a home console and a handheld, a lot of people have said it feels more on the handheld line. And I think that's because of the marketing of the Switch. Like the big thing they're pushing is its versatility, and most of its versatility comes from it when it's in a handheld position. So by handheld position, I mean when it's literally in handheld mode or when it's in kickstand mode. Like a lot of the marketing is like, take the Switch out and then you just pop it on the bar table and you play, right. Or like, have it on the handheld mode. You're going to hold it and you're going to be kicking a ball playing soccer. And then, you dock it. Like the TV is kind of like the last hurrah in the marketing.
Yeah.
That being said, even though I can see why people say that, I still think of it, what I would define the Switch as is a hybrid console, which is like, the Lady Gaga video, totally original, never been done before, unique, unafraid to reference or not reference, right? But I think the Switch really is that, and that's what makes it like so, like, obviously I have the fangirl bias, but like it's so like revolutionary in that it did both well in a way that no console's done before, the Nintendo included, because as you can see they've been trying to do this like for a while with like the Wii U. That was the Wii U, where they're like, see, you got it as a tablet, and then you have it on the console, but you're like, this is kind of weird.
It didn't really work.
It's just a little weird. Yeah, and you've seen it even before with other companies, like with the Vita, it having remote play. So you could play, like, you could kind of use it almost like as like a controller. It's hard for me to describe because I didn't actually have a Vita, but like you could play like PS4 games through your Vita or vice versa. It was one of those two, but there was like an element of remote play. So remote play has been happening for a while, so this is kind of like the logical next step. But to me, I still see it as, even though it's a rebirth of the idea of what handheld gaming could be, I still think of it as the death of handheld consoles, though, because to me it's like now, like through this death, we now have the life of like the hybrid console, which is like a new thing that never has been done before in gaming.
Right.
But that still means like with that new idea comes the death of an older idea, or like the rebranding of it, which,
I think death is a little harsh because it's not going away, it's just being repackaged.
But if there's no, well, I guess to me,
death makes it sound like it's gone, it's done, everything we loved about it, it's gone forever.
I think
when something dies, Janet, it's dead.
Well, not if you believe in the afterlife. So.
No, you know what I mean though. It's not. The
well, I'm talking
about handheld gaming.
Handheld gaming is there, but handheld consoles aren't to me, because I still don't think of the Switch as a handheld console.
I don't think of it as
a.
I think a hybrid console is fair, but I think the handheld is necessary for it to be a hybrid console.
Well, yeah, but both are necessary. Both.
Right,
both.
But then it'd be like saying that in no way is the Switch a home console.
I don't think it's necessarily like saying that. The thing is, the reason I see it as not a handheld is because it's like literally both. Like it is. I guess it's both of those things.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But I guess the other thing to me with the whole idea of handheld consoles dying, I don't see other. Like I don't think other companies will do a hybrid console.
I think that they might do something inspired by what's going on with the Switch. I was thinking about this. Yeah. I hope they do.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but then I also would. I don't know.
Nintendo was not the only group to make handheld consoles. I think they were the first to do handheld. I'm not even sure because all this started happening when we were like not alive,
I think they're the first to do it well.
Yes,
and
but everyone's been kind of following, you know, even if they haven't been quite as successful, there's still been some iterations that have had at least some, like, cult following. You know, the PS Vita has a very strong
the community's so strong.
The community's really strong. I'm just thinking that now that this is a new idea in the industry, the gaming industry has a way of running with new ideas. It just does. And I think that it's possible that we're going to see some innovation in this area because of what the Switch has done. Because I think what really happened here is that Nintendo realized that they can't or don't really want to compete with Xbox One, PS4 levels of graphics and AAAs and, that sort of stuff, and decided to do something different because they can't compete on that level as far as, like, what those provide specifically. They're like, we're going to provide something completely different. And I think that different thing is something which is open for exploration now. From other companies. I don't know that Sony or Microsoft necessarily are going to get super into it because they kind of have, what they're doing really well. But I don't know. I'm optimistic to see what other companies might do in the future now that the door's been open, because most of the time in the gaming industry, they're not just like, yes, well done, we'll leave it alone. You know, like that's not how the gaming industry works.
We saw the following thing with motion control, where the Wii was successful, so then the Kinect tried to like step up its game, and then PS4 has its gyro control thing.
I hate those things.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't like motion control, but we saw Nintendo be a trendsetter before, but I feel like it won't be the case when it comes to this, because it's such a big commitment. Like, to make a console that does like the specific thing, because if you just do motion control, you can add a game or two, whatever. But like, you're talking about the whole console. You're talking about
right, but a hybrid can be more than just these two things together. I think people might start thinking about what else consoles can do, even if it's not our consoles do the same thing the Switch does.
The first thing I literally thought of was like a toaster again?
Like a toaster? What? No.
But what would that look like?
Put your toast in and you play while you wait.
But what would that look like, though?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know, and I'm excited to see what happens. I think right now it's too soon to say it won't happen. The Switch is very new. And what the Switch has done to the gaming community, very new. I think it's too soon to say what ripples that's going to have.
Yeah.
But if history is any, indicator, I think that the industry is going to react. And I'm just interested to see how they do that. So for me, I've kind of taken a less pessimistic approach. I was very upset before when we had our discussion about whether or not the handheld games were dying or handheld consoles were dying, because I really like handheld consoles. But I feel a lot lighter. I feel a lot more optimistic now. I feel like, okay, I can go with change. I can accept change. But I think there'll be some...
You don't sound like someone who can accept change.
Yeah, but I think it could be interesting. So I'm just going to keep an open mind about where the industry's heading.
Yeah.
But I think it might be true that at least the 3DS, or that era, Nintendo's handheld consoles, I think, might be dying out.
Yeah, specifically only handhelds.
Yeah. Nintendo 3DS. And that might be okay.
Yeah, and I think, my thing, my quick and 2 cents on this topic, this like subtopic within this conversation, is that I don't see Sony dropping another handheld because of the Vita was awful, and they're also really focused on VR. That's their weird little thing that they're doing. And then Phil Spencer with Xbox, he's not. I don't see him making like risky, interesting, intriguing moves.
Has Microsoft ever really done like a handheld?
No, they've never done a handheld. They're definitely like, in the way I think they're a lot more focused too on like, so if we're thinking of themes, like Nintendo has like Switch Season, that's their theme. PlayStation has like VR and like other stuff going on, bad games basically, it seems. Sorry Sony fans, and then Xbox's theme is Play Anywhere, which is kind of like, they're not really doing a hybrid console, they're more doing like, do consoles even need to exist?
The world is your console.
Yeah, because they're Microsoft. They don't care about. Now this is getting to a whole other thing that people get maybe upset about, but they don't care about like the Xbox as a thing to me. Like, they care about like that it exists because it pushes the games, which pushes the computer, which to them it's all games. It seems like it's kind of their approach. That's why they have the Play Anywhere. That's why they have like the Netflix of gaming thing with the Game Pass.
See, but that's what's so weird about the Play Anywhere thing.
Yeah,
it doesn't include handhelds. That's
right.
A little weird, right?
But that's because Microsoft is a computer company.
I know.
So they're like, we don't really care where you're spending your money as long as it's coming to us. We don't really care about the physical media because we just want the money. And, and that's...
The physical media brings in money, though. That's the other thing, though, too.
That's
why you sell handheld consoles. Like, we got to have another console to sell because it's more money coming in.
Yeah, but...
Now, this game you can only play on your handheld console.
They seem more game-oriented and more about, like... there's a lot of indicators that they're not necessarily all about Xbox because they're not. They're Microsoft. And so it's Sony.
No, I don't think so either.
But that was... Oh, wow, that was weird. But anyway, so that being said, I think this is like the potential death of the handheld exclusive console, like as in this console is just for a handheld. Really, to me, the ball's in Nintendo's court because no one else has really stepped up. I don't see people stepping up mainly because
It's too soon.
I know, but it's not like I don't see anyone stepping up here. It's more like I don't see in my prediction, I don't see in the future people stepping up, only because I feel like as the gaming industry has grown into what it is now, we are less likely to see new competitors emerge because gaming has now gotten its footing, and its footing is the big three. Obviously, other people could come up and they could be successful, but I think people are less likely to try than they were in, the 80s and early 90s, and that's why we had, like, so many different, like, consoles that existed. Nowadays, people don't really try to make a new console. I mean, you hear the Ouya tried to kind of do something with that, and we had a couple other people. It's just people were less likely to stick their foot in if they're not already there, and the people that are already there, I personally don't feel like they will make a move like that. And I mean, they totally could. These are just predictions, but that's kind of my prediction based on like industry trends and like the vibe I get on what each company's going for.
All right, well, I feel like we both said our piece on that, and it's something.
But also, Switch is awesome.
Really...
I don't really mind with the. I'm here for Switch season, so I feel good about handheld gaming.
Okay,
for sure.
So speaking though of feeling good about handheld gaming, what are some of your like favorite handheld gaming memories, or like your like best things that you did with handheld gaming in the past? Because that's a huge part of both our backgrounds. Growing up.
I love, and this is why like I love the Switch, and I'm like, I don't even mind. I mean, 3DS can die. I got the Switch. It's all good. Like, because I think it's a very successful, and it's in the way that it is a handheld. But that being said, like my favorite memories from handheld gaming, I have a couple that really stick out in my mind. So the first one is playing my first, getting my Game Boy Pocket. I think I got it for Christmas from my grandma. Shout out to grandmas who buy expensive technology for their grandchildren. So my brother had already had the Game Boy, the old school original Game Boy, like the super fat Game Boy. And I didn't have anything yet, so I got the Game Boy Pocket. It was blue. And I remember just being, so sleek and so much better. Like the difference between the Game Boy and the Game Boy Pocket was just like mind blowing. Like there's never been like a difference in console like within a family that much. Like in my opinion, I might have to kind of think back a little bit more, but yeah, it was just crazy. And one of the first games I had was a Smurfs game because my grandma bought it and didn't really know like what games were, so she's like, "We'll just get you this." And it was a pretty bad game, but the log part was kind of challenging, and that was cool. And I was like, "All right." So that's the first memory. The second one that really sticks out is I took my Game Boy. So I'll just say my Game Boy Pocket memories, and then we can kind of move on from there, and I can talk about my love for the GBA. But for the Game Boy Pocket, I like went all out with the Game Boy Pocket, and I think that's what makes me so excited about like having a Switch and finally buying the accessories eventually. Once right now I'm sharing a Switch with my brother Edwin, so it's not like really fully mine, so I can't like take it out like a lot of places because we share it. So like I'm not gonna, if I take it, we doesn't have it. But I'm excited to like really go old school with it with the accessories, because one of my favorite memories from the Game Boy Pocket was having like the Game Boy carrying case. Did you have a Game Boy carrying case when you were a kid?
Yeah,
I did. It was great.
I had a pretty intense one.
Yeah, so mine was like the side satchel one that had,
Me too.
It was like about, yay big, and you could put in the Game Boy Pocket and then some cartridges on the side, and it had like the little foam in there, and you could buy like the cartridge protectors, like the plastic ones. I still have some of those. Yeah. I remember my grandma used to work like a lot of like cleaning jobs, so she like cleaned like someone's upstairs apartment, or like she like was a cleaning person for like a salon, like a hair salon or something. So, and she'd like, when she was taking care of us, like when we went to visit like grandma's house for the week or whatever, she'd like obviously, so I just gotta take you everywhere because you're here. So then I would go with her to work and just hang out. I'd bring my Game Boy Pocket, my carrying case, and I would just play in the salon, and it was great. This is like my really fond memories of the Game Boy Pocket, and it was my first handheld that I had. Yeah.
That's awesome. For me, I think that handhelds, they were the real MVP at doctor's offices. Doctor's appointments. It was like, yeah. And everyone else sitting there reading their stupid magazines, and I'm like catching 8 Pokemon. It was great. And I didn't mind the doctor's office at all, because I was like, this is what I'm doing at home anyway, so I might as well be here, I guess.
Yeah, nice.
And so I really enjoyed doing that. I was also a really big road trip gamer. Mm-hmm. Like Mike's my older brother, and we would like restart our Pokemon games at the beginning of a road trip to California. So like the whole 5 hours, to like wherever we were going, like if it was Disneyland or the beach or something like that, we would just play Pokemon straight 5 hours. We'd have some extra batteries packed, whatever, and it was great. And for me, my first handheld console was the Game Boy Color. And it was cool. And then after that, I went up to the Game Boy Advance. I remember when I got the Game Boy Advance, I went from having my really cute little side satchel thing like you were talking about, to my mom had gotten us, so my mom got me and Michael a Game Boy Advance for Christmas. And
what color was it?
My Game Boy Advance? Yeah. It was white.
Oh, cool.
I think Mike's was black.
Cool.
And she also got us these big sort of steel-looking cases. Like it was like a block, and it was like, it looked like there was some chemicals or something, like you're gonna run into the lab or something, and that's what it looked like, and it felt really cool, because like the level of angst at that age was like amazing, and you had to like unbuckle it, you know, and flip it open. It had all these sections, and you'd like put stuff. And back then, you had to have a lot of hardware to like enjoy your gaming, because you had to have like your little light thing that you hook into it if you want to play in the dark, because it wasn't backlit, or you have to like have the cord that you plug in so you could trade, and you had to have your charger. Or no, at that point, actually, I think it was still batteries. I don't remember.
You could have a charger, but you didn't, because we talked about this.
Game Boy Advance?
Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah, but there was a lot of hardware that I'd carry around, and so like Mike and I would like walk around with our little steel
So was it
cases.
just like a metal lunchbox, basically?
Yeah, basically, but it had a lot of compartments and padding, and like things you flip over and fold over, and places for your games, and so that was awesome. And then I got the Nintendo DS, the original Nintendo DS, which was the last console I got, the handheld console, until the new Nintendo 3DS, just because I, sort of fell out of it for a while.
Me too.
So, long history of gaming. My favorite thing to do when I was a kid, was to lay with my back on the carpet and my feet against the wall and play with the game above my face. Yes, I did drop it on my face once or twice. That did not stop me from continuing. That's the best position to play video games in. Can't really do that with anything else.
No.
Maybe the Switch now, because you can take it off the thing. But
yeah.
Even then, I feel like it's a little too...
There's like that crazy thing of someone made like a weird box and they put the Switch and then they just had it looked very dystopian. I didn't like it, but
yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot of good memories with handheld gaming, but I don't think they're over.
Let's say let's say not counting any future 3DS games that might come out or that are on their way, like Metroid, like the old Metroid made again.
Mm-hmm.
Not counting that, you can only play one handheld for the rest of your life. Which one do you pick? Like, of the ones that you named, which one do you pick and why?
Do you have one in mind?
Yes. So, for me, my history of consoles goes the same way. I had, the Game Boy Pocket, then I had the GBA, then I had the 3D, not the 3DS, the regular DS, like the DS Lite, so one I had, and then I had the new Nintendo 3DS, and that's like my line of consoles. For me, my all-time favorite one is the GBA, hands down. It had everything. So, my GBA was great. It was, I forgot the proper word for this, but it was like one of the see-through ones. So it was pink, see-through. So it was just amazing. And that was the first time I had a charging station for my game. That's how I knew chargers did exist. They were pretty uncommon, though. It wasn't like, here's your charger. It was like you had to buy like a special battery pack and all this stuff. And mine, it was also pink. So it was like a little pink stand. My brother's was blue. So then, yeah, it was great. And then that's like, I have all those fond memories of playing all those awesome Mario games on there. And then the great thing about the GBA was, if it wasn't for the GBA, my knowledge of like what are now retro games would be so much smaller, because so many of those SNES games also were available to be played on the GBA in some form or another, like either through like, I guess just through a cartridge, because we didn't have like eShops and stuff at the time. But yeah, a lot of those made their way onto the GBA, which was wonderful. I also feel like up until like I haven't had a GBA in a while because I don't have my old one anymore. But like I was just recently playing my 3DS and I was like appreciating, how ergonomic it feels. It just feels really good. And the GBA was like the first handheld at the time that really felt good to hold. Because even though I didn't find the pocket to be uncomfortable, like even then I kind of knew like it wasn't anything to write home about. Like it's kind of a little unnatural to hold something like this. And obviously we have our phones now, but it's a one-hand device. It's not like
different.
Yeah, I wouldn't have like my phone with just like two hands like this close. Like that's kind of a lot to have. So yeah, but with the GBA being in that different orientation, like it finally like felt more like a controller. It just was great. So the library was just awesome. So that would be my game that I'd play forever. My handheld gaming console.
So it's just console you play forever.
Yeah,
so I thought you meant game. I was confused.
No,
okay.
handheld gaming console.
Handheld gaming console.
And
3DS, man.
Really?
Yes.
It has just library or anything else.
Well, it's just better. It's like think of it like this.
I'm gonna mod it.
I don't currently play my DS or my Game Boy Color or my Game Boy Advance at all, and I feel fine.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? I do play my 3DS. So
yeah.
Well, for me, it's the new Nintendo 3DS.
See, I would mod mine though. I wouldn't just take it as is. So the thing I've been wanting to do for forever is like you can pay like a decent chunk of money, and you can get like it all fixed. Like it'll just like have the backlight in there already built in, and like all this other. So it'll be like a souped up.
It already has the backlight in Nintendo 3DS.
No, the GBA.
The GBA.
Yeah, the
You
GBA.
would mod your GBA.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then like really kick it into the next year. I don't know. I played so many games on that. I think too, like when I really think about my gaming libraries, they're not very big. Like now they're getting bigger. Now that I'm like.
Oh, mine were
really
very small when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I had like
so,
4 GameBoy games.
So I feel like I'd want to, but back then, I think maybe that's why I picked the GBA. Like I played so many GBA games though. Like I think that was like the peak of my gaming career up until now. Now it's like the revival.
Right.
But at the time that was like the most I'd ever played. I think anything. And it was cool because you could play the Game Boy games on there.
Yeah, that was nice.
So it was like you had like
funny,
three. Yeah, you had like 3 gens. So it's. I guess because I have so many gens I could play, and theoretically, you could use the hack of, well, if you get the 3DS, you can just get them all in the eShop or whatever. But like, I just love. You
could play your Game Boy Advance games on the DS.
That's true. Yeah.
And they did not.
I guess this was a dumb question, so in some ways, but that if I could only because since one could play.
I guess the question might have been what console are you most attached to?
Maybe what's your favorite?
Yeah. So
it's still 3DS for you. 3DS is really high up.
The regular DS would be my favorite.
Really?
It's just I enjoyed it the most at the time. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's the best. It was like for me that was my peak of handheld gaming. Even though prior to that I was pretty up on handheld gaming. That was it. That was peaked and literally peaked, and then I stopped playing. So
that'll be that.
Yeah.
Cool. So that being said, moving into the future, how do we feel about like what our handheld gaming lives are gonna look like?
Honestly, I think that. In an ideal world, I would get more into mobile gaming as it's growing more complex. Mm-hmm. Mobile gaming, in a way, is kind of handheld gaming, and I think it's partly that I haven't gotten into this before is because I don't think of my phone as a gaming system.
Me too.
I don't think of my computer as a gaming system either, partly because it's bad at gaming, but also because it's my computer. But to some people, their computer is a gaming system. That's where they do their gaming primarily. And I think thinking about my phone in a different way could be could open up a lot of doors. I've heard a lot of really interesting stuff about mobile gaming that I don't really take advantage of most of the time. I don't know that this is probably going to be pretty far in the future because like data costs extra money and like things like that. And you have to pay for the actual game, and then you have to like watch your data, and then your battery.
Not play it unless you're on Wi-Fi.
Exactly.
You can restrict in the settings like only on Wi-Fi, like for this certain thing and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just I don't have to do that on my Xbox. You know what I mean? So that's nice. So that's the thing I'm thinking about getting more into in the future. Like maybe if without handheld gaming, I would invest more in a nicer phone that's like built for like mobile gaming. Yeah. So I don't know. What about you?
I'm kind of in the same like line. Obviously, I love my Switch for my handheld gaming right now, but I've been wanting to get into mobile gaming for a long time, and I would want to do that with a tablet.
I think a tablet would be really interesting.
Screen. I feel like my phone is my phone, and my like laptop is my laptop. And since my laptop it's not really good enough to really do a lot with gaming anyway. So just like you, I'm like, I don't. Even though I have played plenty of games on my MacBook, and I've played great. Some of my favorite games have been on my MacBook, but like, I don't like using it for that because it's so close to death, It's already, like, doing so many things.
Mine's, like, missing the A key and, like, you can't take it away from the charger for more than 2 minutes or it dies. And I'm like, I need you for work and things.
Exactly. I guess I'd want to invest in a better setup. But the thing I feel weird about, and, maybe we can, explore this in the future and try to, like, advise you guys on it, or maybe you guys have advice for us, but, like, I know for me, like, I don't, like, know how to, like, get into mobile gaming at all. And, like, I feel kind of bad because, like, in as much as I try to be open-minded about mobile gaming and I, like, respect it as a thing that people do, and I think it gets hated on a lot, unjustly, I also, like, I definitely fall into having that stigma of, I'm like, that's not a real game. Even though I won't project that onto people, and I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're not a real gamer because you play mobile games. It's just, to me, like, it's not serious unless it's, like, on a console or a handheld. And that's kind of where the whole idea of, like, wanting a specific device for a specific thing for me comes from. I'm like, I feel like I'm not, like, I'm not really, like, sitting down and play a game unless I'm sitting down with a console. And that's why I actually like console gaming more than PC gaming, even though they're, like, both the same games. I'm like, I just like having my consoles. So it's been hard for me to, like, think of even where to start to, like, find good mobile games, or, like, where I should invest, and, like, when I should spend money and when I shouldn't. Like, recently I picked up Oceanhorn for the Switch, which before that it was just on mobile, like iOS. and it's really fun, and it's really great. But, like, I wouldn't have ever gotten that on iOS, because I just don't, like, have the same thinking. So I'm trying to figure out, like, how to, you know, fix that. And then I'm also thinking of maybe something I could do is just, you can get, like, a controller, and maybe I can use it as, like, a mini, almost like a different version of my Switch or something. Because I like Oceanhorn with a controller fine, but the thing I don't like about mobile gaming is the screen D-pad and the screen B button. Like, those are weird to me. Like, when there are mobile games that aren't just touch-based, and they, like, try to put keys, but on the screen.
I've never played those.
Oh, yeah, it just feels a little weird.
That's
to
awkward.
Me. Yeah, it feels weird. So, I guess, so for us, the future would be whatever Nintendo has to offer, and maybe some mobile stuff, basically.
Yeah, and, you know, as I mentioned earlier, maybe I have a more optimistic view of what other people will do in the future, other companies, and so whatever they come up with, I'm happy to play. We'll see if they do.
Yeah. All right, thanks for checking this out, guys. Let us know how you're feeling about the beginning of the end for the 3DS family, it seems like, where you guys do your handheld gaming, what you feel about the future is for handheld gaming / handheld consoles. Do you distinguish this as two different things, as we talked about here? And, you know, your favorite handheld gaming memories, the console that you feel most attached to, all that stuff. And we will see you guys here in 2 weeks for our podcast, and next week we'll be back here for another video. So if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, I guess it would be. We also have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Bababit. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you can also just subscribe to us on your favorite podcast service. So, yeah. Anything else?
Nope, just make sure to hit thumbs up, make sure to rate us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thanks.